Welcome to WagerTalk TV, everyone. Minty Bets here with Marco D'Angelo at Marco in Vegas on Twitter and Brian Leonard at B Leonard Sports. We're talking NFL, and it's the wild card weekend. This Sunday, we've got the Ravens at the Titans. Ravens favored by 3 points. I think they're the only road favorite except for the Bucks here. Now, Ravens favored by 3 points on the road, total at 55. Brian, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, a lot of people were surprised the Ravens opened as a favorite here. I believe they were 3.5 before it was bet down to 3. And if you followed the Ravens lately, they're the hot team. Everybody says this is the team to watch out for. Problem is, you're taught in this industry to buy low, sell high, just like you do in the stock market. Well, you're buying high if you're playing the Ravens right now. This is a team that's coming in red hot. But keep in mind, they lost to Tennessee earlier this year. In fact, they've lost the last 2 times they played Tennessee. They lost earlier this year, 7 weeks ago, 30-24. In that game, Tennessee held the Ravens to only 306 total offensive yards. This is a team who hasn't passed 270 yards all season long in the passing game. That's a concern if Baltimore falls behind. That's always a concern if Baltimore falls behind here. We've got 2 of the best running games in the NFL here. Baltimore has a yards per carry advantage of 0.9 when you take a look at their offense minus their defense. And Tennessee's at 0.7, the same way. So both teams run the ball very well. From a passing standpoint, I prefer the Tennessee side here from playing at home, although we don't have the same home advantage as we've had in the past. Baltimore's one of those teams that I think I'd rather go against on the road than at home. At 3.5, sure, it was the way to go on Tennessee. At the line right now at 3, slight lean to Tennessee for me. Somewhat surprised by the total being 55. Seemed a little bit high to me when you've got 2 teams that do most of their damage on the ground and want to run the football. But at this point, my lean in this game is on Tennessee.
Okay. And Marco, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I agree with Brian 100% about you're paying a price for Baltimore. There's no question about that. Personally, I did think Baltimore would come out a favorite, but I didn't think they were going to come out. And really, when this line first come out, it was 3.5 and came back to 3. People grabbing that 3.5 because of the value there. I thought they would make Baltimore a 1.5 point favorite. They're making you pay for it. And guys, when you look at Baltimore, the last couple games, yeah, they've had some soft spots on their schedule, but there isn't a team that's playing better football right now than Baltimore. They have been ultra consistent. And let's not forget the fact that this is a team that went through a bad spot during the season with the COVID issues. They missed practices. They had to move games around. It affected the game where they played against the Steelers. And I want to bring up that Steeler game, not because, I want to talk about my Steelers. We'll be doing plenty of that in another video with Brian. But that game, when they played Tennessee the first time this season, and everybody was talking about, it's a big revenge game for Baltimore because Tennessee knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And if you remember, Baltimore was the best team in the NFL. They had the best record last year. Everybody, already had them in Kansas City penciled in for the AFC Championship game. And what happens? Baltimore comes out first game of the playoffs. They had to bye the first week. They come out and they lose to Tennessee. And not only did they lose, they lost soundly. They were never in that football game. So everybody was circling the revenge spot against Tennessee during the regular season. But on the show that I do with Kelly and VR, I talked about it. I said, I know this is a big revenge game, but they got the Steelers on deck. And I don't care who you're playing. When you're Pittsburgh or you're Baltimore and you look up at the schedule and you see that the odd opponent is your next one, those 2 teams hate each other. And I think that Baltimore was in a bad spot. They were looking ahead to Pittsburgh a little bit, and they didn't get the job done. And at the time, Lamar Jackson wasn't playing his best football. And if you remember, he had a couple games this year where he was horrible, and he was the main reason that Baltimore lost the first meeting against the Steelers this year when they had more than 200 yards over Pittsburgh. But let's fast forward to right now. Tennessee had to go the distance last week. That game went right down to the final gun. And the problem with Tennessee, Their offense is great, and Derrick Henry will wear a team down. I'm going to go. I did this earlier. I did this last week with Baltimore as an actual play for my clients, but I also did this with Tennessee against Green Bay, and I faded Tennessee in the first half. And the reason for that is there's no team better prepared, I think, coaching wise, than John Harbaugh in Baltimore. They come out of the gate quick. And they got that revenge factor in their favor and all of that. And the fact that Tennessee's coming off a game that went to the final play of the game when they kicked the field goal. And, they did the single doink. It wasn't the double doink. They got the single doink, and that was good. Got the winning field goal for them to go, to win the division. But Derrick Henry is a weapon that gets more powerful as the game goes on. He wears you out. And in the second half, with defenses, I think Tennessee has an advantage. So I'm going to make a first half play here on Baltimore. You'll get them at a very nice number, going first half here, and just to have them go into the halftime with a lead. And I think that's what they'll do in this game. So for me, I'm making Baltimore first half wager.
Wow, spitting so much knowledge. Thank you guys. All right, so Marco's leaning first half Baltimore, and Brian is leaning Titans. Whole game. All right, thanks, guys. So every Tuesday, get the hottest handicappers best bet for just $2 at both WagerTalk.com and our sister site, sportsmemo.com.